Today our objective is to be able to apply the Pythagorean theorem to determine unknown side lengths in right triangles when given 2 points on a coordinate plane, and also identify whether triangles are right triangles by using the Pythagorean theorem. This is an 8th grade standard, and it is Chapter 7, Section 5 in the Big Ideas book. The first page, what we're going to do is use the Pythagorean theorem to decide whether the side lengths form a right triangle. If you look at number 1, we have 3 side lengths of the triangle: 15 yards, 8 yards, and 17 yards. Remember, the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are the legs, a and b are the shorter sides, c is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side. So if I look at these 3 measurements, 17 is the longest. It must be the hypotenuse. So I've got to put 17 in for C. A and B are the legs. They're the shorter 2 sides, which are 15 and 8. So I plug in 15 for A and 8 for B. It would be okay if you put in 8 in for A and 15 in for B. It really doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. Now I'm going to go ahead and square 15 to get 225. I'm going to take 8 squared to get 64. I'm going to square 17 to get 289. Now I need to see if this equation is true. So if I add 225 plus 64, I do get 289, which equals 289. So since the Pythagorean theorem worked, this is a right triangle. This would be yes, because the Pythagorean theorem only works in right triangles. All right, number 2, we have a 4 millimeter, 7 millimeter, and 5 millimeter side. We want to know if we have a triangle with those lengths, would it make a right triangle? So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If the Pythagorean theorem works, it is a right triangle. If it does not work, it is not a right triangle. First, you want to figure out which side would be the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse has to be the longest side. So out of 4, 7, and 5, 7 is the longest. That means 7 should be the hypotenuse. 7 is C. 4 and 5 would be the legs. So I would have a 4 squared and 5 squared for a squared plus b squared. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. If I square 7, I get 49. Now I'm going to add the 16 and 25 together to get 41. But 41 does not equal 49, so the Pythagorean theorem does not work. That means no, this is not a right triangle. Okay, number 3. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to find the longest side, which is the 3.6, and that would be C. That has to be the hypotenuse, the longest side. A and B are the other 2 sides. So one is a 1.2, the other is a 2.2. If I square 1.2, 1.2 to the second power would be a 1.44. If I take 2.2 to the second power, I get a 4.84. 3.6 to the second power is a 12.96. If I add 1.44 plus 4.84, because they're on the same side of the equation, I get a 6.28. 6.28 does not equal 12.96. So no, this is not a right triangle because the Pythagorean theorem does not work. On the last one, I have a drawing, and I need to still use the Pythagorean theorem, and I have to make sure that I put the hypotenuse, the longest side, in for C. So looking at this, 10 meters is the longer side. It's longer than 6 and 8. So I'll put 10 in for C. The legs would be 6 and 8. So I have a 6 squared plus 8 squared. Let's see, 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. If I square 10, I get 100. 36 plus 64 is 100. That does equal 100. So yes, the Pythagorean theorem did work, So yes, this is a right triangle. Okay, the next questions, what we're going to do is we're going to graph 2 points and we're going to find the distance between the 2 points. So first I'm going to graph -2, 3. That would be left 2, up 3. Then I'm going to graph 3, -1. I'm going to go right 3, down 1. After I graph these 2 points and connect them, and let's see if I can do a better job here of connecting with my airliner. Sometimes it is hard to draw straight lines with an airliner. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm trying to find the distance of this line segment from the point -2, 3 to the point 3, -1. So now I need to find a point or an ordered pair to make a right triangle so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. So there are a couple of points that are going to work. I either could go straight down and over, and I would have a right triangle, or I could go over and then down. So either way, I can use either right triangle, but there are 2 points that would work to make a right triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the first one. I'm going to use this triangle. And what I'm going to do is apply or use the Pythagorean theorem to find this distance from point -2, 3 to 3, -1. Your book has you use a distance formula. I do not. Your math teachers do not want you to use the distance formula. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So since we have a right triangle, what we're going to do is we're going to count the lengths of the legs. Here's one leg, here's another leg, and this is our right angle right here. So if I look at this side, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. The length of this side is 4. If I count the length of this side, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of the legs is 4, one is 5, and I don't know this distance. It is the hypotenuse because it is opposite the right angle. So what I'm going to do is write the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know a and b are the legs, so 4 and 5 are a and b, and I'm trying to find the hypotenuse. The length of the hypotenuse is here from point -2, 3 to 3, -1. So I square 4 to get 16, I square 5 to get 25, I add 16 and 25 to get 41 since they're on the same side, and then I'm solving for c. So I'm going to do the opposite of squaring. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So my answer would be the square root of 41. Or you could use your calculator and take the square root of 41 and you'd get about a 6.4. Looking ahead at your assignment, your book, when you do this assignment online in Big Ideas, is going to have you leave your answer as square root of 41 instead of taking the square root of 41 to get 6.4. Okay, number 2. We're going to find the distance between the points 3, 6 and 6, 3. So we're going to go right 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's 3, 6. Then I'm going to graph 6, 3. I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 3. And then I'm going to connect. And I want to find the distance between these 2 points. Okay, so my first step is to make a right triangle. And there are 2 ways to do it. I could go down and over, or I could go over, and then when I get to this point, go straight down. And then I have a right angle here. This distance that I'm trying to find is the hypotenuse C. It's opposite the right angle. So these are the legs A and B. I need to count how long these sides are. So this one is 1, 2, 3. A would be 3. This one is 1, 2, 3. B would equal 3. So now I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to find the hypotenuse of the right triangle, because the hypotenuse is the distance between 3, 6 and 6, 3. So both of my legs are 3, so I'm going to put 3 in for A and 3 in for B. 3 squared is 9, so I have a 9 plus 9 equals c squared. I'm going to add 9 plus 9 because they're on the same side. And then I'm solving for c. I have a c to the second. So I got to do the opposite of squaring. I've got to take the square root of both sides. The square root of 18 is not a whole number. When you do your big ideas assignment, they're going to have you leave your answer as the square root of 18. If you had directions that said round to the nearest tenth, you would use your calculator to find the square root of 18, and that would be about a 4.2. So it would be about 4.2 units long. Okay, look at number 5. We're going to find the distance between the 2 points. So first I'm going to graph 1, negative 2. I'm going to go right 1, down 2. Then I'm going to graph negative 3, 4. That's left 3, up 4. And I'm going to connect. And then I'm going to try to draw a right triangle. So I either could go straight down and over, or I could go over and then down to get my right triangle. The reason I'm drawing a right triangle is so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem only works in right triangles. Okay, so looking at this, here are the two legs, A and B, and I'm trying to find the distance between these 2 points, which is C. So I need to count how long each of these sides are. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units long. So B would be 6. So then I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. My legs, A and B, would be the numbers 4 and 6. And I don't know C. That's the hypotenuse. So I would square 4 to get 16. Square 6 to get 36. I would add these two numbers together because they're on the same side of the equation. Then I would take the square root. The opposite of squaring C is taking the square root. And my answer would be the square root of 52. That's what Big Ideas is going to have you do, is leave it in radical form like that. Or if you use the calculator, take the square root of 52. It'd be about 7.2 units long. Okay, number 4. We're going to graph the point 0, 2. That means don't go left or right, but go up 2. Here's 0, 2. Then we're going to graph 3, negative 2. So right 3, down 2. And then I'm going to connect, and this is the length I'm trying to find. I'm finding the distance between the first point and the second point. I need to draw a right triangle. I could go straight down and straight over. There's a right triangle with a right angle right here. Or I could go over and then down. The length I'm trying to find is the hypotenuse. The distance between this point and this point is the longest side of the right triangle. It's opposite the right angle. I'm trying to find C. These are my legs, A and B. So I need to count. A is 1, 2, 3, 4. So A is 4. B is 1, 2, 3. So using the Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm going to put 4 in for A and 3 in for B, and I'm going to find C. So 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, I don't know C. 16 plus 9 is 25, but then I have to take the square root of both sides. So actually this one turns out to be a whole number. This would be 5 units. In your Big Ideas assignment today, if it turns out to be a whole number, go ahead and put in 5 instead of the square root of 5. So your answer would just be 5. All right, look, to review our objective today, we were trying to find the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane by using the Pythagorean theorem, not the distance formula, but the Pythagorean theorem that I taught you in today's lesson, and also deciding yes or no, do the sides of this triangle make a right triangle, and we use the Pythagorean theorem for that also. Your assignment today is page 322, numbers 5 through 16 all. You're going to do your assignment on the Big Ideas website. So you're going to go to the Perry Township website, you're going to click on Evaluate. After you click on Evaluate, you click on Big Ideas Math. After Big Ideas Math, you click on Assignments, and you will see that assignment there. If you have any questions, please email your teacher.